Good morning, everyone, and welcome to IGTV. With us today is William H. Murray, and Bill is going to be talking about the ethical compass. Take it away, Bill.
They called themselves the Legion of Doom. The press picked it up. In their press release, they said that they had found investors and they were going to go straight. They were going to go into the security consulting business. The owner of the conference, Mike Sobel, knew better than to put them on the program, but his conference organizer could not resist using them. He created an after-hours panel to showcase them. I was sitting quietly in the back of the room until one of my colleagues on the panel suggested that it would be a good idea to teach programming to those in prison. At that point, I got up and headed for the door. Instead of letting me leave quietly as I intended, she said, "Bill, don't leave." At that point, everybody in the audience turned to watch me go. At the time, I was writing a regular column for Sobel's monthly newsletter. So I went up to my room, took out my computer, and wrote a column titled, "Lie Down with Dogs, Get Up with Fleas." The Legion knew a lot about hacking. They even knew a little about security. The rogues are sure that they are smarter than we are and that they know more than we do. They think that this is the only requirement for being called professionals and being paid the big bucks. It turned out that the Legion knew nothing about consulting as a business. In order to learn, they set up a phony business with an address, a phone number, and a website. They then sent out a request for proposal for security consulting services in the name of the phony business. The rogues call this social engineering, and they define it as the acquisition of special knowledge by means of wit and skill. Of course, it's nothing of the kind. It is the perversion of the truth to take unfair advantage of another. In a word, fraud. When confronted with a problem, they reverted to type. It probably never even occurred to them that nice people do not use fraud to do market research or to learn their craft. They simply lacked an ethical compass. A number of consultancies responded with proposals that featured their quals, but leaked proprietary information about their methods, their marketing strategies, and their pricing. Some were too savvy to respond to an RFP from a non-existent business and disclose the fraud. But I have a colleague who told me that I might lose a friend the next time I reminded him that he had taken the bait. Recently, the rogues announced that they are going to set up their own honor roll. They will rank the quality of the rogue hackers. The rogues now have their own organizations like the Chaos Computer Club, their own journals like 2600, and their own conferences like Black Hat. Conference organizers, including the Computer Security Institute, invite the rogues to speak. CSI could not understand why I withdrew from their program rather than appear with the rogue poster boy, Frank Abagnale. I don't accept the professional's excuse for attending these programs, i.e., we need to understand them. We need to know what they know in order to be secure against them. Sophistry. The real reason we go is that we like a good story well told. Boy, can they tell a story. It helps that they are not bound by the truth. They are all still engaged in the big con. They can't help themselves. They have forgotten whatever truth they may ever have known. I was on a panel at the National Computer Security Conference in Baltimore with Don Ingram, an attorney and a prosecutor of computer crime, when he told the audience of security people that they were not professionals and never would be so as long as they continued to pay the rogues for after-dinner confessions. Such confessions may be entertaining, but they are not professional. I was recently invited to one of these rogue conferences on the basis that it provided a venue for professional dialogue. I noted that professional dialogue requires trust, that one can engage in it only with other professionals. It does not require dialogue to get the rogues to tell their stories. One could hardly stop them if one wanted to. The problem is that one cannot expect them to put two truthful sentences in a row. I'm a little tired of being told that if one simply treated them with a little respect, one might reform them. Recidivism is far more likely than reform. Not only do they not warrant respect, they do not warrant tolerance, of which they get far too much as it is. These people failed sandpile, the lesson that they should not evacuate where they play. The Bible tells us, by their fruits you shall know them. I recognize professionals by their practices. For example, they work in teams. They have agreements with their principals. Likewise, I recognize rogues the same way. When a, quote, security researcher discovers a vulnerability, he publishes an exploit to the world. A professional writes a workaround and shares it with those who need to know. Perhaps the oldest and most persistent ethical question confronting security professionals is what our relationship should be to the all too clever and often lovable rogues. Should we associate with them in an attempt to exploit their special knowledge? Ostracize them, lest we soil the reputation of our profession, or something in between? It is precisely for confronting such difficult ethical dilemmas that we are called professionals and are paid the big bucks. I, for one, plan to err on the safe side. See you next week.
Thanks, Bill. Great editorial.